I'm Catherine Ross, and I'm here live from the NYSE with Jim Cramer. Jim, let's kick it off with oil. There was a suspected attack in the Gulf of Oman this morning, and that actually helped oil prices to rebound. What are your thoughts around oil right now?
I think that oil is it's fossil fuel. People don't like to invest in fossil fuels. There's a ethos of investing. I remember back in the 80s when people decided they weren't going to invest in anything that was apartheid. Because it was just a decision, and companies that were involved with apartheid or funded it, they didn't want them. I just find that ethos is controlling even over something that should have driven oil prices up dramatically versus say they were down big yesterday. And if you own the oil stocks, I guess there's just no end. I mean, look, we own Schlumberger for the trust, and the stock's up like 40 cents. I mean, it's almost an embarrassment. And then a lot of this has to do with the fact that there's the Permian. And the combination of technology in the Permian has made it so that the U.S. has gone from 5 million to 13 million barrels a day in, a decade. And we're going to go to 17 million, according to Scott Sheffield from Pioneer, which is the best of the companies in there. And the days when we are hostage are over. And as a matter of fact, if we had a better FERC that was more, say, better for oil, that was more pro-pipeline and used to give better tax breaks to pipeline companies. The MLPs have been destroyed by FERC. Then you would find us as being the swing exporter for if Iran's taken out. So let's understand where we are. Let's understand why it doesn't deck the market. Arguably, I would say even as recently as 10 years ago, our market would open down huge, but it's not the same anymore. And it's as Gary Friedman talked about in the Restoration Harbor RH call, you pray for peace and prepare for war. I mean, there could be war there, but it's just not like the old days. Now, obviously, a war that escalates to where a huge shooting war, we would just be focused on. But there's been one in Yemen for years, and no one even talks about it. I mean, Yemen's been a complete war. What is going on down here? A lot of people.
It's Fiverr's IPO day.
Fiverr, is that like a $5 bill?
No, it's actually, they
it's
do
an interesting online freelance site. It's kind of interesting. I was thinking that it might be, one of these IPOs is very exciting. But they're all exciting these days. But I just kind of amazed that oil just kind of, it's not focused. Oil's just barely up more than it was down.
Let's take a step back, though.
Fiverr.
Yeah, it's priced up. It looks like it's going to price around $26 for its first day.
CrowdStrike yesterday, they talked about how they were the only cybersecurity company built for the cloud. I had Zscaler on last week, and what did they say? We're the only security company built for the cloud. And this company's now, CrowdStrike's now larger than Zscaler. Zscaler is a remarkably good company. Everybody feels threatened by Zscaler. I never heard about CrowdStrike within my vast panoply of companies that I follow very closely. CrowdStrike's not really as much as a factor, but they bring public a little bit. The bankers have learned. They got it wrong initially. Now they're bringing it public a little bit, get everybody excited, and they bring it at a price that's very good. So you get, and then we had Beyond Meat that was up 500%. So you went to the next. They finally did it right. They've gone back to the 1999 model. Now, when I say did it right, 2000 was a disaster. And we're not doing anywhere near the volume of new deals, but just keep in mind that the enthusiasm is going to be too great for IPOs in 2 weeks.
What about Chewy, which is IPOing tomorrow?
Excuse me?
What about Chewy?
Oh my God, people are very excited about that, and I have ennui for excitement. It's kind of an oxymoron, but that's what I have.
Well, and I saw that the NYSE tweeted that there's going to be dogs at the exchange tomorrow, which is exciting, apparently.
Oh my God, it's not since the Westminster. I happen to be a big fan of dogs. I have a big guy who's 12 years old, NVIDIA, and then I've got a second one, Marley, who is so stupid. Yesterday he ran back and forth to distract me from our living room to our kitchen 20 times.
Did it work?
20 times.
Were you distracted?
Completely distracted. I was trying to learn more about IPOs, but then Marley and finally I just got up and I gave him a cookie. I appreciate his tenacity, even as I am baffled by his stupidity.
Jim, let's talk about real money stock of the day, which is Lululemon. They reported earnings last night. They beat expectations. One thing that I thought was really interesting, and I'm curious to get your take on it, was they mentioned tariffs a handful of times. And I'm wondering, with something that's like, you buy their pants, Jeff Marks was telling me that their senior portfolio analyst for Jim Cramer's Action Alerts Plus portfolio was telling me that their ABC pants, which are apparently really comfortable, go for like $200 a pop. And with tariffs, they're going to be more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, Lulu and RH uniquely are incredibly expensive price points that are doing well. Dollar General and Dollar Tree are incredibly inexpensive points that are doing well. We've got a barbell and nothing in between. It's really rather extraordinary. Anything in between, from the Restoration and the RH and Lulu to the Dollar Gen and Dollar Tree, is a loser, but off on the side is Walmart, Costco, and Target. And they are their own.
And Target has now same-day delivery, I saw.
Isn't that interesting for price? Those are the three that are, you can't touch them. They are what they used to be: ABC, NBC, and CBS. You cannot lay a glove because they've got great scale. So you have these winners in retail, and we all love to talk about retail, obviously. The winners in retail are the really high end, the really low end, and those that have scale. And everybody else are losers. And my father, I've been brought up in retail all my life. And sometimes you learn a lot. You learn a lot from your parents, and because my dad worked at Gimbel's and my mom worked at Litz, and those were institutions. You thought of them like you thought of the Rock of Gibraltar. They disappeared. Lit Brothers is now Five Below. That's where they're located. So I don't take anything for granted. I mean, someone was saying, look, we know that Kohl's, which we own fractionals, they have a good balance sheet. If they did not have a good balance sheet, we could not mess with it.
Let's go back to Lulu, because I'm curious. They have a lot of, I like that call too, and they have a lot of brand loyalty. So I'm wondering, when it comes to tariffs possibly hiking up prices, is brand loyalty enough to keep customers coming in the door?
Yeah. My wife is a huge buyer of their stuff, and it is, I'm not saying it's a Kohl, although they did call their salespeople educators. I think people feel it represents great value because it's got style and it's got durability. So there is an element of Lulu that is a superior product in what we thought was a commodity. I am a Nike guy or an Under Armour guy. My wife would not be caught dead in Nike or Under Armour because it's unflattering. A lot of workout is now public, okay? So if it's public, you have to be dressed to the nines to work out. And Lulu is the way to be sure that you're not caught in inappropriate garb. See, for instance, let's say you're in Peloton, okay? You may be able to get away with Nike. A Peloton deal is going to be so oversubscribed it's ridiculous, and yet I would argue that it's just, the commercials, and it's kind of cool. I bought my wife a Peloton. She liked that alley, but now it sits in the corner, but she has a trainer, and she wears Under Armour exclusively, even at home. I had Under Armour stuff on this morning when I worked out, and to me it was like, okay, I'm wearing Under Armour. I mean, Lulu. She's exclusive Lulu. I put Under Armour on, and because I like how it feels, and there's nobody looking at me, but she feels that there's like this Lulu aura, which is that if you're wearing Lulu, it's more flattering than if you're wearing Nike. It's about flattering. It's also about mine. We used to be, the previous CEO left, okay? But we happened to go out to dinner with a couple times. We visited a store with him that's near our restaurant, Bar San Miguel. And the store's a beautiful store in Brooklyn. And my wife felt, it was like she went to Disney World. I mean, I said, Lisa, it's just clothing. She said, no, it's not clothing.
My sisters are also Lululemon fans, huge fans. But they tell me that the reason that they're willing to spend like over $100 per legging is because of the lifetime warranty, that they can bring in the ripped leggings and get it
It's indestructible. It reminds me of the old Sears Craftsman. You can take it back. But it's again, not a cold. It's a feel-good. I remember Pontavon, this previous CEO, he used to say to me, I said, what's the key? This is my first question. What's the key to the strength of Lulu? And he said, mindfulness. And I said, what exactly do you mean? And he says, you're in the now. You're in the now when you're wearing Lulu. And, okay.
I want to continue talking about brand loyalty, but I want to move on because I want to talk to you about Tyson and Beyond Meat and the brand loyalty there.
Look at that. That's like GM coming up with the Saturn. Remember the Saturn?
If you guys missed it, Tyson announced this morning that they're going to do, I'll get your take on this in a minute, an Angus beef patty that's meatless and chicken nuggets that are also meatless. But, Jim, Angus that's meatless? That's kind of weird to me.
See, this is like, when you get these situations where it's kind of like the cloud versus on premises. Yeah. Like Tyson's on premises, and Tyson's Oracle. And Beyond Meat is Salesforce. I mean, I have so many pieces I want to do. I don't have the time to do all the pieces I want to do. It does drive me crazy because I think that Beyond Meat, again, is mindfulness. Now, you asked me at the top of our broadcast about oil. Oil's not mindful. Now, there's a generation of people who are my generation, and they're thinking Cramer's lost his mind. But what they don't realize is that the younger generation buys what they think is good, what's sustainable, okay? What has an ethos, what is purpose-driven. Beyond Meat is purpose-driven to these people, and Tyson is, pump up the chicken breast. I don't know if they really do that, but, Tyson is regarded as being what they're rebelling against. So you can't look at Tyson, as good a company as it is. Remember, my generation, hey, Tyson's Tyson. They look at Tyson as the man. And by buying Beyond Meat, you're sticking it to the man. Now, I look at these as companies, but, I find it frustrating. I find it frustrating because, those who just focus on the fundamentals are maybe missing the new, younger picture. In the same way that when I got to Goldman Sachs in the 80s, it was about making money. Now it's about purpose.
I think that maybe Tyson had kind of an idea of that because up until till Beyond Meat's IPO, Tyson had a 6.5% stake in that company.
I know.
And Beyond.
I know. They funded their enemy. They funded their enemy.
And they saw where it was going, and they immediately left it.
Do you know that McDonald's had the big stake in Chipotle? People forget. So, strange bedfellows. Chipotle's very mindful.
So, Jim, I guess you kind of answered this, but I want to get this more clear for our viewers. Do you think that because of Tyson releasing these meatless alternative options, do you think that people are going to leave Beyond to jump onto Tyson?
I find that hard to believe. I mean, I don't mean to insult Nestle, and Impossible's got GMO, but Beyond Meat, this fellow Ethan who runs it, he's a proselytizer. See, Tyson, by offering both, is offering neither. You can't please all is to please none. Beyond Meat has an ethos. They're purpose-driven. Now, again, it is so hard for people who are not in their 20s and 30s to understand purpose-driven, but the fund managers of the new era are very different. They can divine who's purpose-driven, and they will buy that stock, betting that those are the companies that can get all the smart people. Now, at a certain point, Facebook's not going to get all the smart people because they are not purpose-driven. They are just not purpose-driven. They're profit-driven. Facebook's the old Goldman. Goldman is trying to figure out how to handle the Prince of Wales. I love that. That's the most trending term right now on Twitter. But Goldman's trying to figure out how they can handle all the demand for the Apple Card. And in the meantime, Alphabet has a stake in all these companies that are coming public, and the stakes are worth a lot, but since Alphabet is not able to tell its story, people don't realize, geez, maybe I should go buy Alphabet. Alphabet may be more purpose-driven than Facebook.
That's an interesting take,
It's
Jim.
the summer of sustainability, Catherine.
Yeah, and you've been talking about that a lot. You've been interviewing people about plastic.
It's what, I know that it is, let's say you own J&J. J&J is a company that I like very much, AAA balance sheet, great management. And what do? I look at the news headlines, and there's a talc case that they lost with Colgate as a partner, and they're being pilloried in a courtroom about being the biggest pusher of opioids. Then there's Beyond Meat, offering a burger that doesn't give you a heart attack. And although it has a lot of sodium, apparently.
Twice as much as a regular burger.
Twice as much burger. So, but it's not a sham. I mean, Tyson is pantry, even though it's not. I mean, pantry being the biggest curse word. That's Kraft Heinz. I shouldn't say they're pantry. But they're in the center of the store, of the supermarket. Beyond Meat is in the center of your consciousness.
All right, Jim, thank you for all of that.
Of course.
That's all the time that we have for today. For all of you watching on TheStreet.com or on Facebook, we are now jumping over to our Action Alerts Plus members-only club video on ActionAlertsPlus.com. Thanks for joining us. I'm Catherine Ross, and we'll see you tomorrow.